All right, what is up, YouTube Input here? We are back with, well, some interesting deck profiles. We're going to have double Pendulum Magician today, one of which was the first one you see here, which was played by Seth Ball. He got 10th place at the Indy Regional this past weekend. And then Matteo Valadez's 22nd Kissimmee, Florida Regional this weekend as well. And then we also have Liam Connett's 6th place case tournament, Altergeist, which I'm covering these because I like diversity. People need to understand that just because a deck doesn't top 8 an event doesn't mean that players don't want to explore the ideas. And both of these Pendulum decks are very, very fat in terms of their numbers. So that's something I found particularly interesting, was both of these decks were heavier in numbers than your more standardized decks. And one thing that I asked Seth what he thought some of the interesting tech choices he had were. He said Shooting Riser in the extra deck, because it could send a Mystical Jackal to become level 1, and then Black Fang has a target to revive when it's destroyed. He can also synchro into Boral Load Savage on the opponent's turn after using Vortex's negate effect. And then Evil Swarm Nightmare was the only non-standard card. It was cool in theory, but it never came up. I also didn't want to play hand traps this format because I feel every deck that can play through them. So I just wanted to progress my game state to achieve the win condition of 4 to 6 negates and Sloth. So I think that's something particularly cool. So I mean, this is a fat deck from Seth here. So we have 2 copies of Omorphage Sloth, 2 copies of Black Fang Magician, and we have triple copies of Chronograph Sorcerer, 1 copy of Distrudo, 2 copies of Endymion, the Mighty Master of Magic, triple copies of Harmonizing Magician, triple copies of Mythic Beast Jackal King, triple copies of Purple Poison Magician, 1 copy of Zephyr Windy, 1 copy of Zephyrob Thuban. We have triple copies of the Servant of Endymion, triple copies of Supreme King Darkworm, 1 copy of Gate Zero, 1 copy of Time Gazer Magician, triple copies of Zephyrath, 2 copies of Zephranu, and then spells we have 1 Dragon Ravine, triple copies of Dragon Shrine, triple copies of Duelist Alliance, 1 copy of Foolish Barrow, 1 copy of triple copies of Oracle Zephyr, triple copies of Pendulum Calm. Now this is interesting. He is playing the 1 copy of Pendulum Halt. So if you have 3 or more face-up Pendulum monsters with different names in your extra deck, you draw 2 cards, and then you cannot add cards from your deck to your hand for the rest of the turn after this card resolves. So one interesting thing that I think a lot of people kind of forget about this is you just do all of your searching before you play this. This card just kind of doubles down as an extender for a lot of what the deck can actually do. And there's nothing wrong with wanting to play more extenders and things in the deck. So just, it is good for what it is for extending your play. Then we have 1 copy of Set Rotation, triple copies of the spell Power Mastery. Then we have 2 copies of Terraforming, triple copies of Zephyr Providence, 1 copy of Time Pendulum Graph, and 1 copy of the Zephyra Divine Strike. Now, down here in the extra deck, there's a lot going on here. We have 1 Triple Burst Dragon, 1 copy of Saruja, 1 copy of the Heavenly Spheres, 1 Electromite, 1 copy of Elpay, 1 copy of Agripane, 1 copy of Borload, 1 copy of Nightmare, 1 Abyss Dweller, 1 Supreme King Clearwind, 1 copy of Shooting Riser Dragon, 1 copy of Ignister, 1 copy of Borload Savage Dragon, 1 Arcanite Magician, and 1 Odd Eyes Vortex Dragon. Now, side deck we have triple Denko Sekka, triple copies of Lava Golem, triple copies of Sphere Mode, triple copies of Twin Twister, and triple copies of Red Rebuto, wrapping this up. So, yeah, I actually like this list a lot. And, yeah, 60 cards gives you a lot more diversity and things like that. But you have to remember, I do like the theory on hand traps that Seth presented here, that they might not be as good as we had thought, especially in a deck like this, where you're already playing 60 cards, and you're just trying to progress your game state as far as you can with this. So next up, we are going to be looking at Matteo Valadez's 22nd place Kissimmee Florida Regional. Now, this kind of looks like the predecessor of the list that we just saw, but we're playing 56 cards in this list. And we're not pushing as hard with some of the general combos things here. So 4 different tech choices, trying to do the same thing, a different spin on the same concept. And that's what Yu-Gi-Oh! Is about right now. It's kind of finding the best build that works for you. And I think having these 2 builds kind of side by side so that you can see really what worked for both players. It's really good. Shooting Rise Dragon works for one player over here, doesn't work for another. only one copy of a Morph-H Sloth in this build, we have more on the other side of the equation. It's a little interesting, things like that. So we have 1 copy of Sloth, 2 copies of Blackbane, triple copies of Chronograph Sorcerer, 1 copy of Destrudo. This build's playing Dragon Caller. We've definitely seen this coming up a lot more for people wanting to play this as a techier option, and it really does work. 1 copy of the Endymion, the Mighty Master of Magic. We have 1 copy of Harmonizing Magician, 2 copies of, or triple copies of Harmonizing, 2 copies of Jackal King, 2 copies of Master Cerberus, 1 copy of Oof Dragon, 1 copy of Purple Poison, 1 Zephyr Thuban, triple copies of Servant, triple copies of Darkworm, 1 copy of Gate 0, 1 Time Gazer Magician, 2 copies of Sephiroth. I definitely do like 3, but I do understand the argument for only wanting to play 2. Then we have 2 copies of Zephranu. Spells, we have triple Called by the Grave. We have 1 Dragon Ravine, 2 copies of Dragon Shrine, triple copies of Duelist Alliance, 1 copy of Foolish Bro. We have 2 copies of Oracle of Zephyr. And then, hey look, it's the old triple Pendulum Call showing up in every list. And then we have triple copies of Spellbook of Mastery, 2 Terraforming, triple Zephyr Providence, and 2 copies of the Zephyr Divine Strike. Man, these builds just do not like Zephyr War. I feel bad for the card. Extra deck down here. We have the 1 copy of Zephyr Metaltron, 1 copy of Triple Burst Dragon, 1 Heraldic Seal of Heavenly Spheres, 1 Electromite, 1 Elpay, 1 Agripane, 1 Boral Sword, 1 Beat Cop, and then we have 1 Dark Rebellion, 1 Absolute, and 1 Dweller, 1 copy of Yazi, 1 Don Dragster, 1 Borrowed Savage, and 1 Odd Ice Vortex Dragon. Side deck, Triple Ansia. Yep, I think it's a staple. I think we just moved on into the format. Triple Denko Sekka, triple copies of Lava Golem, triple copies of Red Rebuto, and triple copies of Typhoon, wrapping up Mariano's list. Like I said, a lot of diversity is present in the current format, and I like to see that. I think we're onto something here, guys. Like, maybe Pendulum Magician has a chance this format. Now, the last list I have is Liam Connett's 6th place list from his case tournament. Now, the reason why we're covering this is because, well, I like Liam. Liam's done pretty well in the past with rogue strategies, and I've seen his name come across a lot. So, this is Altergeist. What an amazing deck this is. We have 1 copy of Kunguri, triple copies of Marionetter. We do have the triple copies of Meluzik, triple copies of the Multifaker, 2 copies of Ziliquitos, and triple copies of Ash Blossom. The main monster lineup is pretty much staple. You're kind of locked into this at this point. Spells, we have 1 for 1, triple copies of Pot of Duality, and triple copies of Pot of Extravaganza. Now, we do have 1 Manifestation, 2 copies of Protocol, triple copies of Crackdown, and now, this is interesting. We are maining evenly. So, as a deck that doesn't always want to go first, or ever in its life want to go first, if you're forced to go first in that one scenario, you actually can evenly your opponent, resolve the Multi-Faker off of it, and then get out a free Siliquitos to further disrupt your opponent. I actually really like this. This is pretty spicy to me. I don't know if this will stick for Altergeist players, but just something I wanted to point out that, hey, in a matchup where you randomly can't control your RNG, having built-in option is really good. So yeah, triple evenly matched really coming off as a spicy tech card for this deck. And then we have 2 copies of Imperial Order, triple copies of Infinite Impermanence, triple copies of Personal Spoofing, triple copies of Solemn Strike, and 2 copies of Typhoon, wrapping up this list. Though, double Typhoon in the main? This deck really does like to push the boundaries of things that we know to what we believe to be concept at this point, and really just it makes me question things, and that's good. That's what makes deck building a very interesting creature. Then we have extra deck down here, triple copies of Link Karibo, 1 copy of Phoenix, 1 copy of Ablaze, 2 copies of Clara and Rushka, 1 copy of Boral's Sword, 1 copy of Prime Banshee, triple copies of Hextia, 1 copy of Akashic Magician, and 2 copies of Salamangrate Violet Chimera. Side deck here, we have triple copies of Inspector Border, triple copies of Secret Village, 2 copies of Super Polymerization, 2 Heavy Storm Duster, triple copies of Rivalry of Warlords, and 1 more copy of Typhoon, wrapping up this list. So like I said, it's really cool to see that Altergeist is pushing the boundaries of what we know. All of these players are trying to be innovative at this point, and it really fucking It's cool. I like this. So congratulations, Liam, on 6th place. Mariano, congrats on 22nd. Seth, congratulations on 10th place this weekend. Guys, if you have deck lists, please feel free to submit them. I'll cover as much as I can. Just give me some time. All right, guys, I'm out. Peace. The ride never, well, truly ends. Thank you, patrons. Without you guys, I don't know what I'd be wearing in these videos. I might be a Truffle Shuffle incident all over again. Guys, please also check out Vanquil40 for some awesome Vanguard content. Some other interesting stuff you might find up here on the left or in the description as well. Thanks for watching.